You're listening to a show on the Planet Film podcast feed.
Hi, this is Sean Mugg,
And I'm TJ Cornwell.
and this is the Planet Council podcast. All right, welcome back to the Planet Council podcast. It's been a week, 2 weeks really at this point, because we didn't have a show last week because of the holiday. If some of you listened to the Planet Film episode, you know that I've been feeling a little under the weather. I'm feeling a little bit better today, but it's just been a hectic week, internet issues and all that stuff. So just with the holiday, we decided to take last week off for the show. But we are still keeping up with, the every other week doing the Mandalorian reviews. And of course, we'll be back next week with just another random Star Wars topic that we'll be bringing you guys. And then in 2 weeks from now, we'll be doing the conclusion of this Mandalorian review series with episodes 7 and 8. But today we are going to be taking a look at episodes 5 and 6. So yeah, I mean, really this week there's been no real Star Wars news. It's kind of been a slow news week for entertainment in general. But yeah, there's been nothing new Star Wars wise. There's been some like bits and pieces, like Ludwig Göransson is he just announced that he's working away at the season 2 score, doing that at home. They released a music video for the Mandalorian.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah, I didn't watch it.
It was basically just him just doing the song like in his studio, and like it was just him basically playing the song. But it was pretty cool. But that's really it. So what's been going on with you? You doing anything Star Wars fun related? Anything in your Star Wars life going on?
The only thing close to that is tonight I'm going to the drive-in to see Empire, and then right after that, Spaceballs.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and then
wow.
I'm in my head. I was like earlier. I was like, maybe they'll play like the good version. Oh wait, no, these aren't edited, are they? Do you know of any like ridiculous edits that would be in the fifth movie?
Well, Empire is definitely the least retouched.
Oh, okay.
Like in the special editions, I mean, like Empire had the fewest changes, but I wonder if they got the special edition, like the 97 version, or like the newest Disney Plus one for like the 4K restoration. I wonder which one they'll play.
I in my head, I was like thinking of like A New Hope, like with the whole McClunky thing, and then 6 just has like the dancing people and Jabba's palace and shit like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Really, Episode 5, like it does have some special edition changes, but there's not one particular one that like stands out. Like maybe the 3PO in the Hoth bunker, like opening that one door or whatever. Like that was like, ooh, not my microphone. That was like one thing that was changed, and then there was like cosmetic stuff that was changed. But really, the only main special edition change to Empire is Boba Fett's voice, changing it to Tamora Morrison. But that'll be the version that you see either way, because they did that way back. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's about it for me though. I got nothing more than that.
Yeah. I mean, do you know how long they're playing that?
I want to say it's through like this coming week, but I don't know after that.
Maybe once for those who don't know, I got a COVID test, so I've been stuck in the house. Maybe once I get my results, I'll go there. I've been holding off on going to the drive-in, but I mean, for Empire, it might be.
All right, we went once already to see. Oh my God, what did we see? I forgot, but it was pretty. No, we'd seen that. Oh,
one of the retros. Goonies. Oh, Goonies. Okay, yeah.
And it was like it went well. Like they did the whole, like they scanned it, I think, if I remember, and then you stay in your car, so it's not like it's like But yeah,
the only thing that worries me is like the having to use the restroom type thing. Like I just don't know what
I did do that. One person at a time.
But was it like a hassle or like annoying, or did they have it pretty well like?
No, it was fine. Yeah, there was somebody standing outside and like letting people in, and then I think there was people like in the hallway too. So it's not like it was like a chaos or anything.
Okay. Yeah, that's been like my one real reservation, just because I don't know how that. Like I don't like in my brain, like I couldn't work, because I know recently at this point it's been like 5 or 6 years, but since they redid the whole Starlight Diner, they redid for those people who don't know, our local drive-in has like 5 or 6 years ago, I think they redid the entire concession building to do like digital projection, and they just gave it like this 50s retro feel. So I was just like, since the remodel, like I couldn't picture in my head how they would be like corralling people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I think like I said, I've been holding off on it, but Empire is a different story. Like seeing Empire Strikes Back on the big screen, let alone at the drive-in, because I think the last time I saw Empire was, I think they did a screening series of the original movies in 2014 or 2015 when they right before Force Awakens came out. That was the only time I've seen Empire on the big screen. But
I just saw on Twitter that when did it come out?
1982.
It was like
80.
It was like for the first time since 1980. Like Empire Strikes Back is like at the top of the domestic box office with like however much money.
Good.
Because
that's the way it should be. That's crazy though. Think about that. They got to bring back the what's it called? They got to bring back the trailer that Harrison Ford did the voice for.
Oh my god! When I saw that, I was like, "Wow,
romance!"
Trailers have really evolved since then.
Yeah, I just love that story. That like it's just like, I don't know what the story is, but I just love that trailer. And it's like, what was the story there? Like, did Harrison just go, George, let me get a crack at that one? And they were like, wow, this is great. Like,
no, I'm sure because he's probably like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, it was probably for like overseas box office or something to like draw people in. But could you imagine like Indiana Jones 5? Like the trailer starts, and it's like, what's this trailer? It's like all this dark from the director of Logan. Welcome to another Indiana Jones adventure. Like, fucking that would be so funny. Oh my god. Okay, let's get into the show here. All right. So, first off, we're going to be talking about episode 5 of Mandalorian season 1, The Gunslinger. This is Dave Filoni's second directorial effort in the first season. As we know, and as we've discussed previously, he's coming back, obviously, to still be the co-showrunner and executive producer, but he is coming back to direct. I believe they said 1 episode this time around for the season 2. Yeah, so I mean, hit me with your initial impressions. Hit me with both when you first saw it back in December versus also when you just rewatched it this past week.
I mean, I don't remember when I was watching this episode exactly, but when I was watching the show originally, I thought like every episode was like good. Rewatching it, I thought it was. I think personally, it's one of the weaker episodes out of all 8. It's a lot of like going across the desert and finally reaching like this person that they're looking for, and it's not really. I don't know. I didn't really care about anybody. Like the what's the kid's name that's trying to get into the guild?
Oh, he's got like the most. He's got
generic,
generic like.
I'll have to pull up that.
Your Star Wars name is the last thing you ate, the color of your shirt type name.
Yeah,
it's like Davin Calcaran or something. I don't know.
I mean, like I didn't think any of none of the episodes, in my opinion, are bad. But this, with the one other episode in the beginning, I thought are like the 2 weakest. I don't know. I just didn't think it didn't like really give me anything. Toro Calican. Calcan?
Oh, Toro Calican. Toro Calican. That's what it was.
Yeah. But what about you?
I would say pretty similar. I think honestly, what's it called? I think honestly, a bigger part of this is the script of this episode, and I think the actor that plays the guy whose name you just said that I completely forgot. 5
Toro?
seconds ago. Toro, yeah, Toro,
Yeah.
Toro Calican. It's that actor is the actor Bobby Cannavale's son.
Oh, okay. I
So
thought his last name looked familiar. I was like,
yeah, it's probably one of those things where, because they had obviously Bobby Cannavale and Jon Favreau have a tight relationship because of
Mhm.
Chef and stuff. So it's probably one of those things where it's like, hey, maybe you find a role for my
Yeah.
son, and maybe Favreau gave him a little bit too big of a role because
I mean, like, I liked the Mark Hamill cameo that they talk about in the documentary where he's like the diner robot and stuff like that. And obviously, like we're just kind of. I think we're just. Are you done with your initial thoughts, or were you still talking? Sorry.
Well, just the last things on my initial thoughts that I just want to say was just I really think I think there are some directing things in this episode that could see improvement, but then again, I mean it's the second thing Dave Filoni has ever directed in live action.
Live action, yeah.
I think it's probably one of those things where he was maybe like still feeling out his style, how he likes to do things, because even though it was the same director, the directing feel kind of has a different feeling than the first episode, which Dave Filoni also directed, was the first episode.
Yeah.
So it almost kind of feels like he's just kind of still working out the kinks of his directing in live action and transferring that, which is totally fine. I mean, to have one, and we're not by any stretch saying that this is a bad episode. We're just saying
it's not.
To have this be, kind of just the lowest on the totem pole of a very high totem pole, you know what I mean, is still pretty good.
Yeah.
But for me, it's minor directing things, but majorly, I really just think that, and you could say that it's a directing thing too, but really, I just think the actor that played that character was really poor, I would say. Like, and he I'm not familiar with his previous acting work, if there is any.
Yeah.
But I mean, his father is clearly a very good actor. I just think to carry the entire episode, because he's in so much of the episode.
Yeah.
It just gets a little like, all right, we gotta like him.
Like, I didn't really like him as a character either. Like,
yeah, exactly.
when he's in the cantina and he's like, "All right, I'll help you come to the hangar in half an hour," and he's like, "Give me the tracking fob," and he just like destroys
smashes it. Yeah,
and I literally made the same face as Mando. I would have been like, "What are you doing?
Yeah,
like, why did you do that?" So, oh, I got it all in my head. What do you have in your head? What are you talking about?
Yeah. I just think what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then just the last thing for the initial thoughts. I think the best part of this episode, to shed some good light on it, just up here at the top, all the Tatooine stuff. I think it's excellent. I think it's pitch perfect. Not what's the word? Fan servicey. It's very. There are a few times, and again, this comes down to the script, which is in this case more Favreau than Filoni. There are a few times where that's another aspect of this episode we should talk about, is the Amy Sedaris character, the mechanic, who is working on Mando's ship. There are a few times where she's like, "Yo, womp rat, drag it to Beggar's Canyon." Like, it's like, oh, they're going out by the Dune Sea, and it's like, okay, like you're literally just every location and like noun that Luke says in episode 4, you're like trying to get this character to say, and it's like that got a little over the top at times. But in terms of actually going to Tatooine, I like that that Mando wasn't like, "Oh, Tatooine, I heard there was some crazy stuff that went down about 9 years ago here," and it's like, yeah, exactly. It's just like, you just hear like, "Oh, coming in for landing at Mos Espa or Mos Eisley," wherever he landed. I just thought that stuff was cool about it, but that just does it for my initial thoughts. I think him as a character, that Toro, little weaker for me, didn't really hold the episode. I think the way that that character was intended to, and then just some minor writing stuff really kind of didn't do it for me, but I like seeing Tatooine. I like going back into that world. So you want to go off? I think you were going to say something before I finish my final thoughts.
Well, I mean, Are we going like? Are we just talking about the episode as a whole? Are we like going in
Yeah, we
order
could
with
just
it?
talk. We could just talk
Okay.
about the episode as a whole. Yeah.
I mean, like not. I thought like just the best part of the episode. It was the end, in my opinion. Was the like the tease for like which I thought that scene was like in daylight.
Yeah, it's like moonlight. It's just because of the sand. I think that's why. It's so
which
bright.
when people like when that scene came out, I was confused like how people got the whole like Boba like you can't see him at all.
Mhm.
Like,
for me, it was for one thing, the main Boba Fett thing was aside from the location, obviously was the spurs because Boba Fett has like the cowboy spurs.
I mean, that was pronounced. Like that's like
that was like they like cranked the Foley artist was like but for me, I did try and look. I tried to like take a look. Because normally when I've been watching these episodes, I've been watching them on my computer, but I watched both of these on my TV because since I moved my room around, it's easier for me to actually watch the TV now. So this is the first of the rewatches that I actually watched on the big screen. And I actually like paused it and I did try to turn like the color up to see and like whoever that character is clearly not wearing Boba Fett's armor.
Oh, okay.
So that like, and we don't know. I mean, it very well could be because what I should say this on set that was not Boba Fett's armor. They could like retcon it next season to be like, no, he was wearing Boba Fett's armor. But I mean, the question is in season 2, this could very well be Boba Fett is Tamora Morrison, or this could be Cobb Vanth, the Timothy Oliphant character.
Oh, right.
So it could be either one. I think honestly, to me, I think it makes a little bit more. I mean, we don't know. Another highlight of this episode that we should talk about is the I shouldn't say gone too soon because she's most likely going to be back, but Ming-Na Wen as Fennec Shand in this episode as the assassin is really good. Just like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's great in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She delivers just as good a performance in this. I just think, she's obviously just like a badass,
So she's not dead?
I don't think so because I don't trust that guy's aim to begin with.
That's true.
And also he like shot her once like in like the liver or so, you know what I mean? Like it was like down below like anything important. And you see Mando look at her, but like he doesn't check to see if she's dead or anything. So my guess is I don't think you would write a character like that and cast somebody like Ming-Na Wen and like not bring her back. But like I said, we don't know what kind of world she was tied up in. We know that she's known throughout the galaxy as like this great assassin. So like she could be working with Boba and he could be going to retrieve her to be like, oh, Fennec didn't come back, like let me go and find her. Or it could be just as easily somebody's like, hey, there's a Mando in town kind of wrecking shop, and Cobb Vanth as like the sheriff of Tatooine with Timothy Oliphant's character could be like, all right, I got to go and figure out what's going on. So I think it very easily could be either one of those characters. I think we're definitely going to find out in season 2 that it was one of those two because I can't think of anybody else that it would be.
Probably like I want to say like my favorite scene in the entire episode was when they're like waiting for her at night and they like rush her on the speeders and they're like shooting the flares in the air and just them like I thought just the shots of them like driving, and then there's the one where he oh my god, he's so forgettable. Sorry, Toro. When he like shoots it in the air, and Mando, she already like shot Mando off his bike or off the speeder, and he like turns like as he like drifts into frame like as the flare is like up in the sky. It kind of like highlights him. I thought that was a really cool shot. I don't know why.
It kind of reminded me. It reminded me of that scene in 1917 where all the flares are going by.
Yeah.
But no, that scene was really good. The whole just the whole conceit of this episode is really, really great. Like, it's like the name says, just called the Gunslinger, and it's like it's just a fantastic again callback to Western type show. Yes, Roca, it is a Western. But that's for the two people out there who will understand that reference. But that scene, all those collection of scenes where she's held up like on her side of the ridge and they're on the other one, and like just when he's going up and inspecting the dewback, and then he's like, no, it's not her, and then she just like starts opening fire on them. And he goes like, oh, well, at this range the Beskar held up, and Toro's like, oh, I don't have any Beskar, and he's like, no,
like,
you
nope,
don't. Like, I thought that was really funny. And then also the scene with the Tusken Raiders was really, really good.
No, I thought that was I wrote down yes, the good old Tusken Raider bit.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where Dave Filoni shines, is when there's not to say that like he can't step out of the shadow of that, but that felt like a very Rebels moment. You know what I mean? Like, I would say it felt more. I feel like a lot of his directing style really feels more like the vibe of Rebels than the vibe of Clone Wars.
Yeah,
you know, does that make sense? Like, I feel like his natural sensibilities were more on display in Rebels than in Clone Wars, which does make sense because Rebels was really his whole baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clone Wars was more him and George working together, so it would make sense that more of Dave showed through in Rebels.
Yeah.
But I just think, and that's not a knock on it at all. I think having that scene where he's looking through the binocs at the Tuskens, and then you just hear Mando, and he's just like, well, tell him yourself. And then the camera just goes, and it's like, yeah, there they are.
The other line I thought was just like kind of like a nice little like wink, not a wink or whatever, but it was like when she's like, well, we have to wait till nighttime, and he's like, well, she's gonna escape, and he's like, well, she has the high ground. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm really like, it might sound this way. Like, I don't know if it's like you, but I'm really trying to pull things that like, I'm like, oh, I like this, but it's just like the episode. I just thought it was like average. Like, it's not, like I said, like you said, it's not bad or anything, but compared to the caliber of all the episodes before this, it's definitely lower than, and the episodes going forward, which would be 6, 7, and 8. It's just, in my opinion, like on the lowest tier.
I think too, maybe this is one of those things where maybe once we find out who that was at the end, maybe if Ming-Na comes back, maybe in hindsight, the episode's going to get better. You know what I mean? Once we have maybe more built off of this episode. But I know exactly what you mean. It just kind of feels like we kind of went like like it was just a little like not a full back down, but just it was like a like then back up. But yeah, I mean, for me also, just a couple other things I want to just shout out really quick is some really cool Star Wars moments and Star Wars kind of like bits and bobs in this episode. Is the 3 droids, which I don't know if canonically they are, but I'm gonna say in my heart that they're
those droids.
That they're the same 3 mechanic droids from the pod racing scene in episode 1. Because they're the same. They are the same. I just don't know if they're the actual exact ones. Also, the cantina. Seeing that you go like 9 years or like 10 years since episode 4. You have Chalmun's cantina, like, we don't serve droids in here. Cut to that guy clearly got fired, and now there's a droid running the place. I don't know what canonically happened to Chalmun, who's if you don't know, the cantina like from episode 4 is called Chalmun's Cantina. He's like he's a Wookiee that owns it. But I don't know if he still owns it. I don't know if Chalmun's dead. I don't know. We gotta find out what happened to Chalmun. Maybe we'll get Chalmun in episode or in season 2. Maybe him and Tarful knew each other. You know?
Oh,
What if we got? Okay, you tell me right now. What would your reaction be if season 2 of Mandalorian we got Tarful in here? If Tarful
I'd
showed
laugh.
up
I'd
and
probably
Mando
do that.
said,
I'd
"Tarful,
probably,
my." Okay, what if they meet for the first time and at the end of the episode,
yeah.
Mando looks at him and he puts his hand on Tarful's shoulder and he goes, "Tarful, my new friend." What?
I'd
What?
probably crack up for a good 5 minutes.
I would die. That would be incredible if Tarful showed up. Or if he went, Tarful, you really are a Wookiee warrior. Um, okay, so Tarful talk aside, I would say the episode is good. I just think it's like I said, I just think it's the lowest on the totem pole.
No, yeah, I would agree
Yeah.
with that. Like, yeah, did I read anything? Like I said, it ends on a higher note with with some mystery, but anything before that is just kind of like, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean that'll do it for the talk on the Gunslinger episode.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll be right back in just a moment here. All right, so welcome back, everybody. So with that, we just went ahead and had our discussion of the Gunslinger, which was episode 5. Now it's time to go ahead and talk about episode 6, which is the Prisoner, which is Rick Famuyiwa's second episode this season, which I think going off of what we were talking about with the last episode, that it was maybe lower on the totem pole. This I would definitely consider to be quite a bit higher.
I would agree.
I would put it pretty high on there.
Yeah.
I would say this is probably top 3 episodes for me.
Yeah.
I'll just jump off real quick with my initial thoughts, both when we watched it, when I watched it back in December, and also now. I think back in December, I thought it was really, really cool. Like we talked about in our last 2-part Mandalorian review. This episode, especially coming off of last episode, The Gunslinger, was really when I feel like me and a lot of the fan base as a whole were really starting to get a little antsy, where you're like, all right, this is episode 6. There's only 2 episodes left. Are we building to something? Or are these all just
one-off episodes? Yeah.
Exactly. And this is kind of going back to the review that we just did for episode 5. I feel this is an episode that on the rewatch and on thinking back to it, it's a lot better because you know that it is building to something.
Yeah.
Whereas when we first watched it, when it was originally came out, we were kind of like, yes, it's a fantastic episode, but does it mean anything? Are we actually getting anything out of it? And then you realize that yes, it is. It's to build this. Those characters are probably going to be coming back because just jumping forward real quick. Nobody dies in this episode. We should say. Well, some people die, but the people.
And one person probably should have died that didn't.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I want to know what that means. But other stuff here, really cool. Just Star Wars stuff. This episode feels like a Friday the 13th movie. Because especially one scene in particular. Where you have just a great. We'll talk about it when we get there. But there's one shot in particular that's just a steady shot where the lighting is flickering, and it's just like it basically to steal. I think Mark Riley maybe talked about it like this, but the whole thing of Michael Myers is originally he was the Shape. You know what I mean? And I feel like in this episode, especially at the end of this episode, Rick Famuyiwa turned Mando into the Shape. Yeah. We were watching a horror movie where our protagonist was the hunter, and it was like it was so incredible. As well as there's a ton of great. I hesitate to call them cameos because they really are.
I was gonna call them cameos, but then I was like, well, they're just like supporting characters, so I don't know if it's like.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, I was gonna say cameos, but really, everybody that's in this episode has an important role to play. Even one of the smaller ones that we'll talk about in a bit. We might even, after our first thoughts, we might even just talk about the cameos,
No,
right,
yeah.
or the appearances, I should say, right after that. But that would be it for my initial thoughts. I think really good, probably top 3 episode for me. Really great horror stuff, really great action stuff in this, and
Mhm.
some good backstory too for Mando.
Yeah.
What would you say your initial thoughts, both on the rewatch and on your original watch?
I definitely think when it's probably the same for both. Like when I first watched this episode, however many months ago, I definitely it was definitely up there with the top 3 like you. Again, watching it, I think I liked it a little. I think I probably liked it more. I liked the different like there were some jabs in there and callbacks to like when I mean we'll get into the cameos, but like not cameos, but the one like guest I guess you want to call it is Bill Burr and when Ranzar's like, oh, he used to be a sharpshooter in the Empire, and and Mando's like, well, that's not saying much. He goes, and I wasn't a stormtrooper, which I thought was really funny. But like you said, like I like the action in this when again we'll get into it later, but the action is really good in my opinion, and the lighting. Because I think for the second half of the episode, I mean, you have all these different lighting. Like my favorite is when he gets into like the security like room and whatever, and he turns all the lights and the security cords come down and all of it turns red. I love that like visual. And then obviously, yeah, like you said, like there's just this episode in particular. Like I think you just have to look at like the casting is like there's like a gazillion people are like, oh, that's cool. Oh, like,
yeah, let's I'm sorry, did you have more in your initial thoughts? Just because I have the IMDb pulled up here if you want to talk about it real quick.
No, not really.
Okay. Well, okay, so let's talk about the IMDb list. So this show in general has really been cultivating some really great talent in front of both behind the camera, but in front of the camera too.
Yeah.
And obviously season 2 is even upping the ante from that. You're bringing in people from the movies, people from the other shows. You're also bringing in actors that have never been in Star Wars, like Timothy Olyphant and stuff. Like they're bringing in heavy hitters here. But this episode in particular really, really stepped it up. You got let's see here. You got Carl Weathers making an appearance again in the little hollow vid. You got Richard Ayoade, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but he's known for the IT crowd, like the show.
When I first heard that voice, the droid, I thought it was Taika again.
Yeah, I mean they're very similar.
Yeah,
they're both just people, but also like their voice is very similar.
Yeah.
And he plays Zero, the protocol droid in here. Then of course you have in his like 4th Star Wars role Clancy Brown as Berg, which is like Clancy Brown as like the devil.
This devil red man.
The devil. His actual species slips my mind, but just perfectly cast Clancy Brown in that role. I mean, he looks so good as that, just like the hulking, like crazy person, basically.
Yeah.
Then you have Natalia Tena as Jan who obviously played Tonks in the Harry Potter series and is also a very well-known British actress, also from Game of Thrones too. Yeah. And then of course you got Mark Boone Jr. from Batman the Dark Knight trilogy, as well as I believe he was from Sons of Anarchy too, playing a really good role here. And then of course you got Bill Burr as the main supporting guy there as Mayfield. And then too, I don't know if you know this, but do you know who was the Republic soldier?
Yes. I forget his. I have written down here. Matt Lanter.
Yeah, Matt Lanter, who's Anakin from Clone Wars. Yeah, which is like amazing that Filoni was able to get him in there. And then speaking of Filoni, this is the episode where we get the fantastic trio of cameos as the X-Wing pilots. So we have here director extraordinaire Deborah Chow as Sash Ketter, which also not only is this a hilarious set of cameos, but also I love that they gave them super Star Warsy names, like to make them canon. So we have Deborah Chow as Sash Ketter, Rick Famuyiwa, the director of this episode, and the episode 2, as Jib Dodger, and then the best one, Dave Filoni, finally making a live action appearance in Star Wars as Trapper Wolf, who is like just the most Dave Filoni name in the entire world. So yeah, this episode I really feel like they just had a lot of fun casting this episode. They were, it feels like it's one of those where like the casting director and like Filoni and Favreau probably sat down and they were like, what if we, got this person or someone like a Mark Boone Jr. And then they're like, well, let's just ask him.
Get him.
Let's just get him. And they're like, all right, so we know obviously, like, we want somebody who's kind of doesn't fit like this typical Star Wars mold. Like maybe somebody with like a weird accent or something that like you don't hear too often, like a Bill Burr type. But like Bill Burr hates Star Wars, like he'll never do it. So who do you think we could get for that? And then they're just like, well, let's just ask him, see if he'll do it. And it's like they just kept getting yeses, like where they thought maybe they would get no's or something. But Bill Burr is like the big one because obviously, not to say Bill Burr hates Star Wars. But he has been vocal about not really getting it. I should say, like not really being like what's the big deal? Like I think he said like I saw it when I was too old, so I never really had the nostalgia for it. And then I think it's just like the ravenous like fans just kind of
I think it's just like not his thing. Like it's just you know.
That's a great way to put it. Like Star Wars is just not Bill Burr's thing, but here he is in Star Wars.
He's really good.
Exactly, he's fantastic in it, and he's playing an immediate fan favorite character, which I just think is so funny that. And I think it speaks to the Star Wars fandom too that you can have somebody who has criticized the Star Wars fandom in Star Wars, and the fans love him. You know what I mean? I think that's great. And I think Favreau even said that in the documentary that he was like, well, who better to be in Star Wars than somebody who doesn't like Star Wars? It's just like whatever. Like, because he was like, if we can make Bill Burr work in Star Wars, we can make anything work in Star Wars, basically. Which I think is great. But yeah, those are some of the appearances aside. Let's go through with what are some of your highlight moments here. So what are some of your favorite moments throughout the episode?
Two of my favorite are definitely like we touched on before when basically like I mean it's you're listening to this because I'm assuming you've watched the episode already. But when so basically the whole mission is that they're going to rescue oh my god, what's her name?
Jan, her brother.
Her brother who has been like arrested and he's on a transport ship, a high secure transport ship. So they break in and once they rescue him, they like turn on Mando and push him into the cell and they lock it and then they're going to escape. So Mando obviously he breaks out and basically he's hunting them down one by one, which is like you said, like it's a Michael Myers type like thing like that. So basically you see like everything, like he gets access to the security panels and he's locking all these security doors and everything. And he gets them split up. So he's just,
picking them off one by one.
Picking them off one by one. Exactly. And, everything is just red. And when he gets to Bill Burr's character, the lights start flickering. Yeah. So it's like really bright and then it's like really dark all within like a second of each other. So basically it's just like it goes dark and you see nothing. And as it flickers on, Mando just gets closer and closer to Bill Burr. And then he just, he gets him obviously. The other part I thought was really cool was when it's basically first when they get into the transport is they come across like the security droids and they're pinned up against the side. Like, how like in New Hope when like Leia, Han, and Luke are like kind of pinned down in the security wing and they're like kind of feeling themselves with like the
side paneling or whatever.
Yeah. So Mando like they're like, where'd he go? And he walks around like behind them and he just like runs in and like starts taking them out. It's probably like a good like 7 or 8 that he takes out, and they're all just like amazed. I just thought like the kind of like just the fighting was really cool. He like tries to use his flamethrower on the one, and it doesn't really do anything, and then he yanks a bunch of them. But yeah, overall, like those are probably my 2 like biggest highlights from the episode. In my opinion.
Yeah, I think definitely that hallway scene is great. When Mando kind of leaves the group, Mayfield goes like, "See, I told you he was gonna run," like that kind of, and then of course he comes back and he takes them all out, and he's like, yeah. And then I think some great stuff too in this episode with I think we've kind of lost him in the shuffle of the last couple episodes, but with Baby Yoda, with the child.
Oh yeah,
he's got some great moments in this episode too. Towards the end, really, let's talk about first towards the beginning. Berg and Mando kind of get into a tussle because they're like, take off the helmet, and he's like, I won't. So they get into kind of a tussle in the bottom of the Razor Crest, and Mando accidentally bumps into the door panel, the control panel for the door, and it slides up, and then they see Baby Yoda, and they like give him a hard time, and like Mayfield's like pretending to drop him and crap. So that basically already sets Mando off to really not like these people. And then again at the end of the episode, there's a fantastic Baby Yoda moment where Mando has hunted down everybody in the prison ship, and then he's going back to the ship because Zero, the protocol droid, has stayed on the Razor Crest to kind of run comms and monitor their vitals and stuff the whole time. But when they turn on Mando, Zero then starts poking around in Mando's info. He pulled, like we talked about a little bit earlier, pulls up a video message from Grief Karga, from Carl Weathers' character, and he basically finds out about that the child is valuable, that all this and that. So he goes looking for the child, and then there's a great scene where Mando's hunting down these people, and they keep cutting back to Zero looking for the child, and then Zero finally finds him. And when he goes to like grab him or whatever, Baby Yoda puts his little hand up, and then Mando shoots Zero in the head, and Baby Yoda goes and like looks at his hand like, did I do that? Like, how did I do that? Which I think is one of the best Baby Yoda moments that he has in the show. But yeah, other standout moments, just like you said, just the action in this episode is so good. Like it really kind of gives Mando room to flex his work as a Mandalorian in close quarters combat.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes they show him where he's not. You may think he's not as technically, because like for example, like obviously it's it's this big hulking like animal, but in episode 2 he just gets destroyed.
Yeah, by the money.
Where he's not always like winning he's not always winning with ease.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. Another cool thing I thought was, like you said in the beginning, with the background, like when they're all on the ship and they're talking, and Zian is like, "Oh, tell him about this mission or whatever," and he's like, "Well, I did what I had to do," and in my head I'm like, "Well, what happened?"
Yeah.
I forgot what the specific mission was. I meant to write it down, but I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but yeah, that's a great thing where it's just like you can really tell that this guy, and also with oh my god, I just forgot his name already. Mark Boone Jr.'s character, with him, the guy who's kind of running the kind of outpost thing.
Yeah.
He says, like he used to be on the team that like they ran with, and he was like, running with a Mandalorian gave us a reputation. Type thing, and it really just builds up that this guy, maybe that team did work for the guild like together, but they really made it sound like before the guild, like he really had kind of a seedy past going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That he was doing dirty jobs like maybe assassinations, like infiltration, stuff like that. Where he really was just sounding like he was just like wrecking shop.
Yeah. It also shows you like he's changed because they're talking about that, and it's like it makes it sound like he's killed like he's only people or stuff like that. He's done some pretty bad things. But when they're trying to take control of the control room, you have Matt Lanter's character, who's like the rebel.
They just like the rebel soldier.
And he's he's like,
or
if
New Republic.
New Republic, okay. He's like, if I click this button, this beacon right here, they're all gonna come here and they're gonna blow us all up.
Yeah,
and and Bill Burr's character is like, I'm gonna shoot you before that happens. And Mando's like, no, nobody's dying. He's like, I'm not killing anybody. And he tries to like talk down Matt Lanter's character. He's like, what's her name? Like, just put that down. I don't want to kill you. And of course he dies anyway, because just like, they're all like pointing their, like, have you ever seen The Office and that one episode with the murder?
I'm not going down for this.
I'm not going down. Exactly. They're all pointing their fake guns at each other. That's basically what happens. Then Zian like just throws I don't know what that is. That is like
it's just like a poison.
Yeah, it looks like
something.
It looked like it'd be a shuriken. Like she throws a
it's
shuriken.
like the Star Wars equivalent, I would say.
Yeah, and he just he dies. But but you kind of get that idea where it's like he's changed. If you weren't sure when he didn't kill Baby Yoda, now it's for sure where it's like he's really not trying to. He's trying to get through something with the least amount of casualties possible. Yeah.
It's like he's really showing himself as the typical one last job type of character. You know what I mean? Where it's like he's done all this killing and stuff. Like it really is. It's like, look at your typical archetypes of this. The older stuff with like Eastwood movies and stuff like that, and even newer stuff like Logan. You know what I mean? Where it's like it's this person trying to grapple with what they have been in the past, trying to be better. And then you get the whole lone wolf and cub side of it too, where it's like this kid has opened his eyes to seeing the error of his ways and also who he really wants to be, which is not someone who just kills everyone. And at the end of the episode, as we talked about, he hunts them down all individually. You think maybe he's killing them, but you don't really think he's killing them because it wouldn't fit his character. But you don't get shown what happens to him. And then her brother, Zian's brother, is going up to the Razor Crest, and then Mando catches up with him, and he says, did you kill the others? And Mando says they got what they deserved. So he kind of, makes it sound like he killed them to kind of intimidate the brother, but then you realize at the end of the episode, no, he locked them all up in a cell, and they're all still alive. Zian, Berg, and Mayfield.
Bringing back to what I said earlier, that one character should have died. In my opinion, I think Clancy Brown should have died.
Oh, really? Why?
Okay, he closes a door on him, and he lifts it up, and then he closes the two doors that come in to the middle on him from the sides. And it looks like
you just mean like
I thought that would have killed him.
Yeah, you mean logistically. I thought you meant like the character deserved to die.
Yeah,
no.
I thought because I think when I kind of looked at it again, I was like, well, maybe he's like standing, because maybe the doors are like, you have the door that he's holding up is right here, and then the other door is like here. So there's like a gap between them.
I think that probably is what it was, because when you cut to the cell that they're all in, he's like holding his horns like they hurt.
Oh, okay.
So maybe like the horns stop the door or something.
Yeah, or they got like crunched.
Yeah, because he's like holding them like they hurt. But I know I get what you mean on that. But yeah, I mean, do you have anything else for final thoughts on this episode today?
Well, do you want to go over like I mean, I guess he does kill people in a way at the end.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. We should probably talk about like the last 5 minutes of the episode. So he shows back up. He takes the brother, because the job was to rescue the brother from the prison.
So he rescued him.
So he rescued him. And we should say right at the beginning, when he meets up with Mark Boone Jr.'s character, the whole motto of this outpost is no questions asked.
No questions asked.
So he shows back up to the outpost with the brother, and he opens the bay of the Razor Crest, walks the brother out, and he's like Mark Boone Jr. is like, where are the others? he's like, and Mando's just like, no questions asked, right?
Yeah.
He's like, no questions asked. So he pays him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, they're like chumming it up a little bit, and he's like, just like the old days, huh?
Yep.
Just like the old days, that whole thing. And then it's like bum, ba-dum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Like he takes off with the ship, and you're like, oh, it's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And then you see Mark Boone Jr. is like, we got this guy. So he just goes to the PA system. He's just like, kill him. So they start firing up a gunship to take him out. And then you start to hear the beeping, and you realize that off of Matt Lanter, Mando picked up the what did they call it? A tracking beacon.
Yeah, I guess it's
and
beacon or something like that.
Yeah, like a tracking or distress beacon or whatever. And they basically what it is it's a distress beacon that you only push in an emergency, because basically what it does is it will basically just bring a squadron of New Republic gunships to just blow up. To just blow up wherever it is. Like, no, once again, no questions asked. So Mando, you find out he got the old 1-2. Hit him with the okey doke, as they say. And he put the little distress beacon onto the brother, calls in the trio of X-Wings who are Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow, and Rick Famuyiwa. That's where their cameos come in. And they just blow the place to.
I thought it was funny because when they're flying in, I forget which one of them says it. I think it might be Rick Famuyiwa. He's like, "Oh, it looks like they're firing up a gunship."
Oh no, it's Filoni. Yeah, it's Filoni, because he goes, he rolls his eyes. He goes, "It looks like they're firing up a gunship." He's like, and then Rick Famuyiwa is like, "All right, let's take him out." And it's just like so funny. Yeah. Oh my god! But
I guess he inadvertently kills people in a way. Like, I think it's not directly. Like, he doesn't kill them directly, but
I think that's the idea of what he's saying, is that listen. Because we should say Mando does not press the distress beacon. Matt Lanter presses the distress beacon as he hits the ground. So the distress beacon has been going. So Mando didn't press it to kill them. It was already pressed, so they were already coming. He just put it on with the brother. Yeah. So really, technically, he's another layer removed from the guilt of it, I guess. Maybe in his mind, that's how it worked. But I mean, he still put the thing on him. Yeah. He knew what was going to happen. But it was probably one of those things where he was like, it's better to do it to them than this prison ship.
With all these other people on it.
And also maybe innocent people or just other people who don't deserve to be blown up. But yeah, so that is basically the end of that episode. Did you have any final thoughts that we hadn't discussed yet?
Not really. I think it just echoes, what we said at the beginning. Again, a solid episode. I think up there with, definitely a top 3. Definitely the strongest, one of the stronger ones of the season. I'm interested to see if the season 2 episodes wipe this one, this one doesn't even stand next to these other ones. But like you said, this kind of shows that these people are alive still, so they might be coming back in the future, and it sets up characters just to return. But overall, like you said, it's a very good episode. That's definitely up there, top 3, top 2, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, I mean, that'll do it, I think, for today. My final thoughts on it really are just really echoing what TJ said. I just think it's a really, really stellar episode. Obviously Rick Famuyiwa is really, really good as the director here. I just think it's really good, really enjoyable Star Wars watch. Some great appearances and special, surprise cameos and stuff. And just a really solid, 45-minute story. With that, I guess that'll do it for this week's episode of Planet Council. My name, as always, is Sean Monk.
And I'm TJ Cornwell.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.